When we're in our addiction and chasing dopamine, we do not see the damage often that it is doing unless it's super extreme. Sex addiction and porn addiction can be a life-threatening, severely debilitating addiction for some people.
When we continuously seek dopamine, the damage done to our mental state is not immediately noticed, especially when the case is not an extreme issue of sex and porn addiction. However, chasing or seeking dopamine can be dangerous for some people. They can't function, sleep, or focus on their work. Ultimately, they're unable to fulfill their life goals. In extreme cases, dopamine-seeking behavior can even put people on the verge of suicide. Compulsive masturbation and pornography addiction are serious issues that decrease dopamine release, which is why you need to overcome these problems. Besides, these challenges affect only about 10% of the population, and the other 90% use pornography, sex addiction, and compulsory masturbation as recreational drugs. For those that use pornography as their choice of addiction, it can be a serious problem. Like any drug, it worsens over time, which means you will need more and more to get the same satisfaction or more potent forms to get the same high.
And this is very true in pornography addiction. People will start out with kind of like, average images, but over time, their fantasy life and the images will need to be more potent in order to get the same effect. And it can progress to a point where people are then, consuming images that really are quite deviant and are inconsistent with their values.
Pornography starts the same way as other forms of addiction. People addicted to pornography will start with average images and videos. Over time, these images would become a little over the top as their fantasy life will need more images to help them reach the dopamine levels that will satisfy them. The addiction progresses to a point where people deviate from their values and sometimes do illegal activities. At this point, we can say that the person has crossed the proverbial line, but it is a natural progression of any addiction. As time progresses, the dopamine-seeking behavior will become stronger to the point that it will start affecting your daily activities and interfere with your general welfare. It can affect your relationship with friends and family because of something that you thought was harmless. While most people visit psychologists with the thought of paraphilia or sexual paraphilia, that's not the case. Often, what you started looking at 5 years ago can't get you in the dopamine release you need now. So you have to up the levels to get the same satisfaction that came at the beginning of your addiction.
My focus got so narrowed on that one type of pleasure. All these other things in my life that have been a source of pleasure for me were no longer enjoyable. Why? Because my pleasure-pain balance had been usurped by this drug, and I was chronically tilted to the side of pain in a dopamine deficit state.
Those watching porn and masturbating are engaging in addictive activities. The effects of these dopamine-depleting activities are subtle but dangerous to overall well-being. First, it narrows your vision so much that only one type of pleasure can bring you happiness, like pornography in this case. As you indulge in more of these activities, you will reach a point where everything in your life becomes boring and less satisfactory. Porn and masturbation trick your brain's reward center. It releases chemicals, including dopamine, which builds a connection between our actions and the perceived preferences of that action. Engaging in activities such as exercise, eating, and sex can also trigger reactions in the brain. Pornography, on the other hand, makes the brain respond differently than it does to healthy activities. During most daily activities, the brain has an off switch that stops the release of dopamine once the craving is satisfied. But pornography impacts the brain similarly to the way that addictive substances do by triggering an always increasing amount of dopamine. Many abused drugs directly trigger dopamine release, which can damage the dopamine reward system. Porn and compulsory masturbation rewire the brain. When the brain's reward part triggers the release of dopamine and similar chemicals, a protein acts as a reinforcer. The effect of the protein creates a natural pathways to connect your activity to how you feel. In the case of porn addicts, the connection results in more demand for the activity, making it easier for you to return to porn and masturbation. It gets worse for these addicts. As you watch more porn, it will become more difficult to concentrate on the things that matter, such as maintaining relationships, focusing on your career, and doing the things that you love.
And I was chronically tilted to the side of pain in a dopamine deficit state when I wasn't using. So, of course, my husband no longer seemed interesting to me. My kids no longer seemed interesting to me. My profession no longer seemed interesting to me. But when I stopped and those gremlins got off and I was able to restore baseline dopamine levels, not only was I able to enjoy other things, but I looked back and I was like, wow, weird. This happens all the time in clinical care. People will get out of their addiction. It usually only takes about a month if they're able to abstain on their own and look back and feel a kind of surrealness at the person that they were and the amount of time and energy that they put into using their drug. So for your viewers out there who feel like it's no big deal, I'm not addicted, what I would suggest to them is the experiment that I suggest in my book, which is to stop using pornography or whatever their drug is for 1 month.
Similar to any addict, those addicted to porn and compulsory masturbation rarely agree that they are addicted. However, some feel that watching porn is no big deal. You can perform a little experimentation if you belong to either of these groups. Whether pornography or compulsory masturbation is your drug, you should stop engaging in these activities for a month. You should know that the first 2 weeks will be tough. Withdrawal symptoms such as anxiety, depression, and craving to engage in these activities will be prevalent. Nonetheless, if you survive the whole month without using, you can get to a place where your dopamine levels will be restored to a balanced point. During that month, you need to engage in activities that make you happy or relaxed. Activities such as jogging, exercising, playing with a pet, reading, and yoga will help rewire your brain and help you break the addiction faster. Rechanneling your mind from those harmful activities, such as porn and compulsory masturbation, will help you regain control of your life. It would also help you make healthier lifestyle choices, such as eating healthy. Adding foods rich in vitamins, minerals, and protein to your daily diet can raise your dopamine levels to a balanced point. You can use that 1 month to perfect your sleep schedule as well. Sleep is essential for the brain and body because it allows time to repair and reset. Although it is not easy to notice initially, addicts often have mild insomnia. As their dopamine levels become worse, their insomnia increases because of the effect on their brain. Therefore, you need to work to get more sleep every night and create a reliable sleep pattern. As we said earlier in the video, pornography and compulsory masturbation are addictions whether you believe that or not. Any form of addiction is dysfunctional for almost all brain chemicals, including dopamine. You must find a way to break your addiction to restore dopamine homeostasis. Interestingly, when you break these unhealthy activities and look back on who you used to be, it would be a surprise. There is a feeling of surrealness that will overwhelm you by imagining the amount of energy invested into those unhealthy activities.
To know that in those first 2 weeks, they're going to experiencing the universal symptoms of withdrawal, anxiety, irritability, depression, craving to use. But if they can make it through a whole month without using, they can get to that place where they've restored homeostasis, other things are enjoyable again. And most importantly, to this question, look back and really say, wow, that, do I really want to use in that way? That's kind of strange. I really was over-invested in that behavior.
Are you suffering from pornography addiction? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Until then, take care.